Just a little PSA to start with here on volunteering for things on Twitter. Last week, Gary Block saw my post on this and said, "Hey, that looks nice. You should present this at a SCUG when it comes up again here." And I responded. I was thinking more of the in-person events here with the local one here in Minneapolis, and said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Approximately, was it? Oh, I got the date circled there. 3 minutes later, I get a PM or DM from Greg. "Hey, you want to do it on the 15th?" So just a warning to everyone out there. So that's kind of that piece. So what kind of brought this idea about was back in September when Azure AD went down. I think everybody remembers that day when Microsoft had an oopsie and basically broke most of North America's Azure AD for quite a while there, at least the Midwest, I know for sure. And being a hybrid shop, we had internal AD still functioning, but we couldn't get into email, Teams, everything was broken that used the hybrid identification. So we really didn't have any way to notify people that stuff was down. Our internal, portal is sharepoint.com, that was basically all broken because you couldn't authenticate. So I kind of was milling around for a while, like ways to do this. You could get a third-party service, text notifications, that kind of thing. I thought, hey, why couldn't we do this in CM scripts? And I thought, well, there's challenges with CM scripts, and which I'll get into here to start with. So it kind of made me think, and I thought, okay, well, let's take this look at scripts. And I'm just going to give you guys all a brief overview on scripts here. I think quite a few of us have used it. I'm sure there's some newer to CM on the call here that haven't used scripts too much. But in general, what are scripts? And it's just PowerShell scripts. You're running a PowerShell script on demand using the BGP channel. So it's, not a lot of fanciness to it. You're pushing a script out there and run it on machines. This script is actually copied to the local location on each computer, and I got that in there, the script store. And there's quite a while ago, this became a challenge for a lot of us too. The third-party AVs, and actually Defender for a little while too, was flagging scripts that were going into that location as malware. So I learned it when I ran CM Pivot on a collection one day, and all of a sudden I got people saying, "Hey, why am I getting malware?" And just the fun fact that CM Pivot is actually a script itself. It's just a really fancy one. So that's kind of the basics of scripts there. What are your advantages? I mean, I mentioned that already with scripts. Your huge advantage is that they run on demand using the big green button or the client fast channel. There's no content to transfer around with CM, so it's running directly from the management point, sending the script across that fast channel again and executing from there. So you don't have to worry about getting that content out there to actually run it. It'll get there on the fly. The next one that I really like that actually binds well to sending toast notifications is configurable parameters on execution. So you can actually set the values of the parameters in the script when you execute it. So this gives you the option to set the texts and all that kind of thing within your script. And the other great advantage is you can return a small payload. And that's not as useful for what I'm trying to do scripts here, but for if you want to return like what a registry key contains or something along those lines, a file version, that kind of thing, you can have them return that, and it kind of gives you a output that's easy to use or easy to look at and exportable. And disadvantages of a script are kind of the same as the advantages. The disadvantages, there's no content. With Toast, you have a couple pictures in there that, if you're making your toast look pretty, you've got pictures that you need to display. And you have to find a way to get those to the clients on the fly. It only runs on active systems, which again is a great thing for time-sensitive toasts. You don't have to, you're not setting up a deployment and then waiting for client actions to run to actually get the deployment and then run it. It just runs immediately as soon as they check in. And the other major disadvantage for toasts, especially with scripts, is that they run only in the system context. So you got to find a way to get that script to execute in the user context so they can actually see it pop up. Troubleshooting, there's not a lot to troubleshooting scripts. There's the BGB server log on the server side that tells you basically when you've executed and that kind of stuff. Client side, you get kind of the same notifications. A script is trying to run, failures. If there's a general failure with the script, which I actually ran into earlier today when I was hooking up multiple monitors on this Surface Book of mine, and it blew up and crashed. Luckily, my lab survived. So, but it broke something on one of my scripts that I had to reload. So that's actually came in handy, the script log there, to see that something wasn't firing off properly. And then the other thing is in the monitoring node, you can actually go back and look at the past executions of the scripts. And when I first started playing with them, when they first came out, I closed out of the execution and I hadn't seen everything execute. And I'm like, oh no, where's the script? Where do I get to see the output? But that shows up in the monitoring node. So that gives you some basic stuff there. Some demos on basic user context and that kind of thing. So hopefully my demo plays nicely for me here. So just an idea on user context. Let's take a look at my virtual machine here, my Windows machine. And I'm just going to get the environmental variables off this machine and dump it off to a log. And let me open that up here. And I got the user environmental data, and it's got, all your normal environmental data. The big thing I want to look at is just username. So you can run it locally. Obviously, it's going to run as my local user Bob here. But when I run the same script from CM, I'll make sure I choose the right computer here. Otherwise, that'll lead to a bad demo. When we run the same script, let's see, get environmental data. Again, it's going to run really quickly, which is the beautiful thing of scripts. And by the time I get here, it'll probably have already run. Yep, they're just finished running. If we look at our environmental stuff here, see we're running as username win10-$1, which is the name of this computer. So it's running in the system context. The user profile is config system profile. So you can see there that everything there is running the system context. Likewise, if you want to kick off just a simple notification just using a simple message box, in the user context, you get the notification just like you would expect. If I run that exact same 2-line script, wrong one, run script, finish that one out. And just a new message box is what I called this guy. And you'll see it sitting here hanging for the longest time. If we look at the scripts log on the machine, you'll notice that it just executed something, and it says right now it's running the PS script. Well, what's going on? If we look at our details and look for our PowerShell instances, you'll see PowerShell running as Bob, ICE running as Bob, but there's a PowerShell executable running as the system account. So that PowerShell is actually displaying that same message that we just got here, but it's in the system context. So it's not actually displaying anything on screen. So that's really inherent. That's the big inherent problem with trying to toast through scripts, is you can't display in the system context by default. So you can see it's still hanging out over here. I'm just going to go over here and kill off this PowerShell and that guy, and we should see it return an error here. So it returned to status 2, exit code, something went wrong. So that's kind of kind of a rundown on scripts and the inherent challenges with scripts when you're trying to do something in the user context. So back to the slides here. Let's see if I can get this going from where I was. There we go. So with that in mind, let's take a look at toasts just real quick and what you can do with them. So just a brief overview with toasts here. A few of the challenges you're running into with toast is focus assist and the basically disabling toast messages for different applications. And there's a few good resources out here. Martin, I can't ever say his last name, but Martin with his display toast notification script, the new dash toast notification that he has out there. He's got some good resources on making sure that toast stay enabled. So I got a link in the deck here, which I'll share with the guys at the end here. So that's out there available. The other thing you got to deal with toast is the user context, which I already gotten into a fair amount. It's got to run in that the logged on user's context, or you're not going to see it. So that's kind of your challenges. The nice features of them, unlike that basic message box I gave you there a few minutes ago, the features are real nice as far as making something that looks pretty, because pretty, shiny. We'll use our shiny keyword. Shiny and pretty are kind of the big things look for and make them user friendly. So you can put a nice big, as they call it, a hero image up here, and the logo image for your organization, and then just your messages and then information. You can also put buttons on the bottom. Those buttons can just dismiss the toast, or you could have it link off to, say, your help desk portal or something like that to get more information on what's going on. So lots of nice things you can do with toast, and there's, they come in a simple XML format, so you do have to tweak the XML format a bit, but there's some good tutorials in that out there for doing that stuff. Grouping of toasts, you can group by application. So when you look at the toast notices on the side here, you'll see, like Microsoft News as an application has info on that. And if you're using the mail applications or, Outlook and that, it's going to group them together, which is a nice feature to have. So, and again, toasts aren't something that everyone's used to. So it's a good way to get that information out there. Some great resources out there. I got this slide here, and I'll just, again, it'll be in the deck, and I'll share that out. Ben Whitmore has a great blog post about doing a similar functionality with Toast, but he's using, I forget if he was using applications or programs to deploy it, but it's great for getting started with Toast. He goes from the very basic, like 2 lines of XML, up to adding your pictures and doing all the cool things you can do with Toast. So I definitely take a look at his blog there if you're looking at kind of getting started with them. And the Toast notification script, if you want to do basic things with toasting, like, if there's toasting for OS upgrades when they're available, pending reboots, password expirations. You can also do, and it runs some custom protocols that lets you fire off application installs and updates out of Software Center. So that's a really cool tool that Martin's got out there on his blog. I'd recommend taking a look at that. I used that actually recently. I've been using it for my feature updates for Windows 10, for letting the end users know ahead of time, hey, this is here. And then also, once the first steps are done with the feature update, letting them know it's time to reboot. So it worked really well for that kind of thing. There's another tool out there called Burnt Toast. I haven't really worked with it too much, but it's a PowerShell module you can download, and it gives you, functionality to build toasts with just using PowerShell versus digging into XML. So that's out there. And then Microsoft, again, always has pretty good documentation on looking into, everything and anything. So there's a couple links to the XML schema for toasts out there. So that's it with that. Now I'm going to get into more of the nuts and bolts, and I kind of have a little joke on that slide right there. Bread plus PowerShell toaster gets you a Windows toast. I don't know. I tried to be funny once in a while. I'm pretty good with the dad jokes these days. All right, so with all that in mind, our big challenge with sending a toast from a script is going to be user context. How do we get from the system user context to the user's context? And for that, I employed parts of a tool I've used for years. And I don't even have my VS Code open yet since the crash. Oh, hopefully I didn't lose anything there. And that tool is the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit. So within there, they've got some functions that allow you to run applications in the user context. And not digging into them too deeply, essentially what they allow you, or what they do is run a scheduled task immediately that's executed in the user context. So let's see if I got the right stuff in front of me here. Lots of things going on here. All right. So let's kind of take a look at the script then and see what I'm having it do. First thing we do is we got a chunk of parameters. And when I was thinking of toasts, what was I thinking of? I wanted, looking at the pieces of a toast, I wanted a nice header. Let me see if I can pull a toast image up here quick. I'll just bring this over here. So looking at it, you want a nice header text here, and that's the second floor flood right there. Or no, I'm sorry, that's the important message from IT, which is showing up right there. The next thing I added as a parameter was my title text, which is the second floor flood right there. And body text is basically, body text 1 and 2 are these 2 paragraphs within the toast. So we got those pieces going, and then the alert time. If I wanted to add a specific time of when this started, I can put that right here. Otherwise, it'll just display the current time, as well as an expiration. So scripts are nice. I didn't mention that earlier. In one respect, that they try to run for an hour, and if they don't if the computer isn't online or doesn't receive the script within that hour, it basically, that's it. It's not an ongoing deployment. So that's good functionality to have with this kind of application when you're just trying to get a notice out there. But when you're trying to get something on everything, it's not such a great application. So in respect to this, I thought, okay, well, I want an expiration time just in case, it takes a little longer for that toast to get out there, and then it's no longer void. So you have an option for an expiration time there. And then the final thing is, the final things are the scenario. So toasts have a couple different scenarios where it basically dictates how long they show up there. The reminder scenario, which I'm using here, is basically stay on the screen until it's dismissed, where a couple other scenarios show up for, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but actually I probably have them right here. Short and long. Short displays for about 5 seconds, and long is about 20-25 seconds. So in my scenarios here, I want a reminder because I want them to see it and actually close out of it. And then you got text on your dismiss buttons. So this button right down here, you can put any sort of original text you want in there, or just plain old dismiss as far as text goes. So those are your parameters, and running through the script here, I mean, the first thing I'm doing with the script is I'm basically seeing if it's expired or not. Has it gone past the expiration date? If it has, just exit the script. From there, I'm defining my functions, and I'm keeping these collapsed now because they're big, and they're actually from the Powershell deployment toolkit. I did par them down a little bit to remove some things that I didn't necessarily need, but as far as like, logging, that sort of thing, or legacy, trying to make it run on Windows 7 or something like that, or Windows XP, if anyone really wanted to do that, because there's no point to do that with a toast, because that functionality isn't in those OSs. And I wanted to shorten up the script as much as I could. So that's the invoke processes user. That's essentially creating that scheduled task and running your script from your parameters you input. The get logged on user is just it's a script that gets the user that's currently logged on and active on the session or on the machine. And then this get PS or this add PSID custom is just some custom C# code that they had that again, this is another one of those things. They have the app deployment toolkit has this in a file. That's part of the toolkit. But since we can't have files go with the script other than the script itself, I dumped it into a function here and just had it added directly. The next section here is actually the payload is our script. So this is the script. All this here is the script that we want to actually run on the device. And if you look at, I'm going to actually jump into another window here so I can have my formatting functionality. If you look at the invoke, so it's the invoke IT alerts as toast content. So that's essentially the content of another script that's going to be run in the user context. So if we look at this guy, it's pulling from a config file that's created with the main script as well. It's pulling the JSON config and just dumping that into variables. Then to get our images, I used a trick that I learned a while ago with some of my other scripting, is base64 encoding the images and then writing them to the user's temp directory. So again, this script is running as the user, so this is running as Bob. As Bob here. And so this is dumping into his temp directory. Basically your hero image, which is that image on the top. Let's see if I can get this back up here. Where are you, PowerPoint? There we go. So it's dumping that image. Then a little further down here, it's dumping the logo image, which is this little guy right here. So it's creating in his temp directory those two images and then creating a reference to it for the toast. And from there, I'm building my real basic XML. Like I said, there's only like 20 lines here that make up the toast XML. And I'm referencing that hero image up there, the logo image, and all my other parameters for the text basically in the toast. And from there, it's just triggering the toast using the standard commands for running the toast. So that basically is all dumped in here and created in the user's context. So now that we created in the user context, or now that we have that to create in the user context, we got to copy it there. Well, I'm going to just copy it. I'll redo this later on, but right now I'm copying it just to ctemp. And then the config file I'm putting there. So I'm putting the invoke IT alert toast and the alert config JSON for this script to run in the temp directory. And this is the PowerShell deployment toolkit magic, is the invoke process as user. And so I'm running PowerShell with these parameters, which is essentially running that script on the local system in the user's context. And then I'm just waiting a couple seconds and cleaning things up. So that's that's the script in a nutshell. Try a couple runs of it here, and we'll hop over here and let's make sure I got my VM still running here. All right, get some of the noise out of the way. So I got a couple versions of this here. I'm going to use the first one that I used screenshots in the script for. And not that, we're gonna send IT alert. And so this is the nice thing about scripts again, is you get, when you run the script, if you have parameters set up, it'll actually prompt you at this point for the parameters. If you had default values, it'll leave the default values in there and you can go from there. So I'm going to use my pre-configured text here. And I'm just going to leave the alert time blank because I just want it to alert now. Dismiss button. Give that some text, expiration. I won't worry about an expiration. Then last thing I want to fill in here is the title. So, and this is something I should really bug someone about this, or send a frowny face. The last parameter you put in here, it doesn't seem to wanna it doesn't want to evaluate that you put something in, so it always remains an exclamation point. But it'll let you go on. So let's do next. You can review your parameters you sent. Next again, and with any luck, the demo gods will be good to me. I'll come over to my machine here. If you watch this temp directory, we'll probably see in a few seconds. Yep, execute as user, and the JSON showed up there. And boom, we got our alert. There's a floor on the second, or a flood on the second floor. On the back side here, it's on CM. We should see this close out here in a second. Yep. And boom, that status 1, exit code 0. So it executed successfully as far as PowerShell cares on that side. So we had that toast for that one. And I created another one that I kind of was thinking, this has always been a joke at a lot of the MMS and you know, gatherings, and that is having animations in like Software Center in that. And I was thinking, I thought this the other night. I'm like, you know, can we animate in Toast? I'm like, you know what? You're right, you can, because I know OneDrive has animations in some of their Toast messages. So why not have the same thing here? And just to give the full effect, and that. And if I can spell it all today. All right, again, I don't know why. I got to play with that a little more and figure out why the last one always says. All right, so then we have this, and that one's running. And again, with any luck. Demos be nice to me. Oh, stuff's showing up over here. And there we go. We've got our condition red alert for all of us Star Trek fans out here. We've got that toast going on there. So that that's kind of what I really had for us today. I don't know if anyone has any questions or anyone wants me to go back into the script and look at something more. I'm just laughing at the chatter on the. I should have said Star Wars, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the 411 on that. Anybody have any questions, comments, ideas?
Paul, this is Randall. If you could share that deck with us to the group there, we can get it out there. That'd be greatly appreciated, sir.
Paul, can you advertise an application from the Toast with the animated GIF?
I don't see any reason why you couldn't.
Asking for a friend.
Yes, definitely. So that's something I'm looking at for some future stuff as well for Windows upgrades and applications and that.
Very cool. Yeah, you could even do the short link to the Software Center, as Kevin's suggesting in the chat there.
Yeah, that's a quick and dirty way of doing it, or quick and easy way. The dirty way would be invoke. You could do some custom protocols that you could launch, basically invoking a PowerShell script to kick the app directly off. I've got some stuff similar to that I run in my work environment. I haven't done too much with blogging that. I know that's kind of how Martin's new Toast notification works for doing some of his stuff, is calling off a custom protocol, and I kind of stole that idea from his script to expand on things I wanted to get done. And the other thing I kind of thought about too was just the other day is this isn't limited to, or at least this idea isn't limited to using toasts. You could potentially embed a WPF or something in a form that would display a standard window that wouldn't be limited by the constraints of toasts. So there's other applications I could see when doing it. Security concerns. Well, so it's kicking off a scheduled task that's running the user context. In the user context, the machine I'm logged into right here, or the user I'm logged into, doesn't have admin rights on the machine. So it's not elevating him in any way with that scheduled task. So I don't know that there would be any major concerns with that. Someone smarter in security can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but.
So since you can run scripts from the admin service, and you could basically make a web interface that you could run this, run your, have it as a quick, app even to trigger a toast remotely from somewhere.
Uh-huh. I like that idea. But we won't need it because Azure AD will never go down again.
Hi, this is Gayatri from Stanford. I had a quick question. So can we use these scripts as part of, can we integrate this with Patch My PC feature and use these scripts if we need to?
Use it with Patch My PC. I didn't catch all of that.
Yeah, these are the scripts, right? These are the generic scripts, right? So can we use these scripts to integrate with Patch My PC, like can we reuse these scripts in the pre or post installation scenarios on Patch My PC?
To get into the user context so they can display notices.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's what Andrew's GitHub repo kind of does as well, because he was talking about scheduled tasks earlier. So it does it in a similar method. I don't know if it does it the exact same way, but I mean, you could potentially attach these in the pre and post steps to do some script notices there. I don't see a roadblock to that.
Yeah, because we tried attaching a PowerShell scripts that we wrote for user prompts that didn't work. So I was just thinking, maybe since this is displaying the list to the users, right? So maybe we can reuse these scripts there, and it might work.
Yeah.
That's what.
Depending on what you're trying to do with it, yeah, you could probably jimmy something out to work there.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yes, there is an option for a sound trigger on Toast as well, so you'd have to engineer this a little bit more, but you could potentially trigger a sound.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just looking at the chat here too, so that's what I was answering for the sounds. Yes, you shouldn't use that to annoy the boss. Or you should, I don't know, it depends. All right, anybody got anything else? Matt, that's my boss there. He said if you send me the actual red alert sound.
All right, Paul, thank you very much, sir. Again, if you could get that deck to me, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, I will do that right in a few minutes here. Let me stop sharing.
We'll go ahead and go to our next raffle then.